Merry meet everyone, Gypsy Willow here. Tonight I'm going to go over moon phases and spell work. And in the previous videos I went over writing your own spells and days of the week. Now I'm going to go over moon phases and how they can influence your spells and how they can benefit on, which moon phase works better for which spells. So the first moon phase I'm going to explain to you is the new moon. And the new moon is the beginning of the lunar cycle, and this means that the moon is completely in line with the sun and the earth. And in the dark sky, you don't see a moon. With the new moon, you can't see it at all. This is the time of newness and rejuvenation. And I'm just looking at my little, I have it. So the types of spells that are done during the new moon are new beginnings of any sort. And beauty, health, personal improvement, or even new employment. So anything that you want to start fresh, this would be the moon phase for you. The next phase is the waxing moon. The waxing moon is the period of time between the new moon and the full moon. And this is when you look into the sky and you see the moon increasing in size. So how I remember, I have a horrible memory. So when I was first learning this, how I remembered it is as the moon increases in size, it becomes bigger. This is the time that you welcome things into your life. This is the time of growth. Because the moon is growing, this is a time of growth for you as well. Every night the moon gets a little larger, and any spell work that requires growth should be done now. The type of spells done during the waxing moon are courage, motivation, inspiration, friendship, elemental magic, healing, or luck. And it makes perfect sense because if you're trying to grow spiritually, health-wise, inspirationally, if you're trying to build your courage, you're trying to gain more motivation, this is the perfect time to do it. So, for instance, let's say, I know for me, a big thing for me is, sometimes we all get in a funk and, we lack motivation. And there could be something that you want to do. Like for me, for instance, I never stop studying. I never stop researching. I never stop reading. I will eventually go through my library with everyone just to, there are so many different reference guides and so many different books that are so super helpful, especially if you're just starting out. So if I'm lacking motivation, this would be a perfect time to work on that because the moon is getting fuller and it's increasing. I want to increase my motivation. Perfect time to do this. The next phase is the full moon. And this is the time when the moon is at its most powerful and the magic is most potent during this time. Performing any positive spell at this time will achieve results. Since the full moon only truly occurs for one night out of the entire lunar cycle, it can be hard to fit it in your schedule. You can harness the energy of the full moon for about 2 days before and 2 days after the night the moon is truly full. So, if you're looking, there's a 5-day window or 5-night window. My hair is just doing its own thing. So there's a 5-night window that you can do any spell work that you want to do with the full moon. So, which is good because not all of us have time. I'm a mom and I'm a wife and I have many, many, many animals to care for. So I don't always have time on the full moon. So I can do it either 2 days before or 2 days after. I have a 5-day window of time. Let's see. The type of spells done during the full moon are any artistic projects, love, romance, fertility, psychic abilities, or making decisions. Also, healing, guidance, and completion spells. Any of these are, great if done on the full moon. And this is just, I always tell, almost every single one of my videos, I say, this is my opinion. I just try to pass on what's been helpful to me. You can, take it and run with it, or you can decide if this works, if this doesn't work well for you. Not everybody follows what someone else follows. This is just another reference for someone who is interested in Wicca or witchcraft. So, I just try to be as helpful as possible, and to each their own. Everybody has their own path. No two people have the same path. And that's the most wonderful thing about Wicca and witchcraft, is that you can do your own thing, and it's still okay, because you're doing what's right and what feels right for you. So the next moon phase is the waning moon. The moon is waning as it gets smaller again. Excuse me. I've been a little sick lately, so. The moon is waning as it gets smaller again after the full moon. As the moon seems to disappear in the sky, use this time to do spell work to remove things from your life. And like I said before, with the waxing moon, to bring things in. As the moon gets smaller, you take things away. And that's how I, learn to remember the different phases, because my memory is not sharp. So the waning moon is a good time for casting out all the old ways and banishing old habits. Smoking is one of them. I'm guilty. So eating habits, the removal of troubles and worries, also banishing addictions or ending relationships. So this would be a good time, because all of those things requires an ending or a completion of something, and the waning moon is the end of the cycle. So it would make sense to do spells that are in correlation with that phase. For me, smoking is a huge thing. I do smoke cigarettes, which is disgusting, but it's an addiction nonetheless. So very difficult to quit. Any smokers out there, I'm sure you can relate. So anything that you want to get rid of, you want to out with the old, in with the new, out with the old waning moon, in with the new waxing moon. Typically there is one full moon every month, but since the lunar cycle is a bit shorter than our calendar year, or calendar months I should say, there is sometimes two, and the second full moon in any given month is called a blue moon. And I'm sure you have all heard that phrase, once in a blue moon, because it doesn't happen that often. Usually, we get one blue moon in a calendar year. And now I'm going to go over the dark moon, or the dark of the moon. The dark of the moon, or dark moon, is the last 3 days of the lunar cycle. It's immediately preceding the new moon and the time when the night sky is notably absent of the presence of the moon. The purpose of the dark phase of any cycle is the transition between the death of an old and the birth of a new. The dark time is a time of retreat, of healing, and of dreaming of the future. The dark phase of the process is a phase of healing and renewal rather than one of fear and unknowing, a time of mystery, wisdom, and healing power. All gifts of the dark moon goddess. During this time, focus on the inner dimensions of our body and minds. If we can learn to attune ourselves to the natural rhythm and flow in our lives, we can use this intrinsic function of the dark times for healing and renewal. When we resist this inward motion in our psyche, then anxiety, stress, and fear are more likely to take hold of our emotions, which is an absolute fact. If you don't have any control over yourself, the things that, that are very difficult to control are going to take over. We can grow spiritually, and we can take complete control of our thought process and, how we think. And if you have no control over that and you're not building that, then it's very natural, especially when you think about, the process between, out with the old and in with the new. There are a lot of people who have a very hard time of letting go of, they don't like change. That was very much me 10 years ago. I did not like change. I like everything to remain the same. It was very difficult for me to let go, and now things are a lot different. And I took control of how I felt, how I thought, how I processed information, how I perceived it. And by doing such things, I have really opened up a whole new world where anxiety, fear, you know, feel like you're losing control, things like that don't really happen anymore because of me completely accepting, you know, this new me, essentially. So the triple moon goddess, in her new full and dark phases, was a model for the feminine nature in her entirety as maiden, mother, and crone. In her original worship, the dark goddess, as the third aspect of this lunar trilogy, was honored, loved, and accepted for her wisdom and for her mystery teachings of renewal. This type of, that's not even, there is a word missing somewhere in there, and that seems like it was an important word. So what it should say is this type of work done during the dark of the moon are healing, renewal, psychic spells. This is also a good time to meditate on the inner self, which I recommend completely. If not for one reason, there's a million other reasons to do so. Meditating on your inner self. It does so much more for you than you can ever imagine. It opens so many doors. Not when you meditate on your inner self, we live in a world where, you have so many outside influences getting thrown at you. You should do this. You should do that. You should feel this way about this. You should feel this way about that. You shouldn't feel that way about this. You should not feel that way about that. We need to connect with ourselves. We need to shut all that out, and we need to connect with ourselves and find out how we feel. How do I feel about that? Who am I? Why do I feel a certain way about this, but everybody else feels this way? When you meditate on your inner self, you connect with the true you. We're so accustomed to growing up in a culture where you're told if you don't look a certain way, or if you don't talk a certain way, if you don't dress a certain way, you're not normal. I enjoy not being normal. I want to be quite honest with you. I'm different. I'm unique. After meditating on myself, I battled for a very, very long time and accepting myself. And I was lost. And I was so lost as a person, just trying to find myself. When I found Wicca and I started researching, studying, and the more I read, the more I connected with it. And the more I learned, the more connected I felt, not only to the earth, not only to the deities, not only to the elements, not only to the universe, but to myself. And when I started to meditate, it opened a door for me that had never been opened before. And at first, I was nervous, because I'm like, this whole life I've lived has been, I felt one way or this way, or, how should I feel? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Once I started meditating, I became very in tune with myself. And it no longer was important to me how others felt. It was important to me how I felt. And that was it was like a life-changing moment, or moments, because there have been many. So, I really do strongly recommend meditation. And meditation, when you do it for yourself, to get in touch with your true self, you will never be the same again, for the better. You'll still be you, but you will see things differently. You will view things in a different perspective, in a different light. And you will no longer need a justification from another person on how you should feel and how you should think, because you're going to be completely aware of those things for yourself. And for me, that was a huge life-changing turning point in my life. So meditation on the inner self is huge because, like I said, I mean, I can ramble on about this for years, decades even. So for me personally, it was very important, you know. And when you meditate, you become more connected to not only yourself, but everything around you. You know, you become more sensitive, you become more aware, you become, you know, just a more in tune person. So, and that's enough about meditation, because I will seriously talk about that forever, and I will say the same things over and over again in different ways to make it sound different, but it's not really different, it's really the same thing. So I tend to do that a lot. So this is a fairly quick video on the moon phases, and I hope it was helpful. And my next series of videos, stones, crystals, gems, stones, things like that. They can be used in spells as well. So I'm going to, my next video, I have a short list, that's what I'll call it, a short list of crystals and gems and stones, most popular ones that people use, and you know, their attributes and what they're used for. And then after that, I'll break it down, and each video will be one stone. That way I can go more in depth on how to use them. I also want to, you know, there are different ways, there are different views on cleansing your stones. Some people don't believe that you need to cleanse your stones, that you just need to clear them. Some people believe that you don't need to charge your stones, that you just need to clear them. Some people believe that you don't need to clear them, but you need to charge or cleanse and charge them. So what I'm going to do, because everybody has their own personal preference and no preference is the wrong preference, I'm going to show you each way on how to do it. So, but my next video, I'm going to go over my short list of stones, and I'll give quick attributes to them and you know, what they do essentially, like what their uses are. And then after that, like I said, I'll break it down, and it'll be one video per stone. You know, the different ways that you can use them. You know, what their attributes are, what their characteristics are, what they, you know, do they heal you? Do they, you know, if they do heal you, then what part of the body? You know, chakras, you know, all those different things. So, and if I was to try to put all that information into one video, you'd be watching it for 3 days. So we don't want to do that, because then nobody would ever watch it. They don't have that kind of time. So it's just easier to do that. I already do have a video posted for herbs. Herbs are fantastic for spells too. A lot of people use herbs. They either burn them as an incense for different, you know, their different properties, or they use sachets or whatever they use it for. So you can check out that video. But that is it for today. And my next video should be tomorrow or maybe the next day, not sure, on stones. So I hope everybody has a fantastic night, and I hope that you found this video useful, even though I babble on and on and on, just like now. So I will stop talking, and I will wish you all a good night, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.